Most people think failure comes from ignorance. It does not. Many people know exactly what they should do. They simply do not do it. Knowledge fills shelves. Action changes lives. My name is Aurelius, and this is the story of a man who learned why smart people often fail, to build better habits. And while you enjoy this story, you'll also improve your English listening skills through clear and simple storytelling. Silas was known as the smartest man in his neighborhood. He read constantly. Psychology, business, philosophy, productivity. His room looked like a library. People often asked him for advice. He could explain habits better than most experts. He understood motivation. He understood discipline. He understood routines. At least, that was what everyone believed, including Silas himself. But every morning followed the same pattern. A new plan, a fresh promise, a detailed schedule. And by evening, almost nothing was finished. The plans changed. The habits disappeared. The cycle repeated. One day, he created the perfect productivity system. Color-coded charts, tracking sheets, complex goals. Everything looked impressive. For 3 days, he followed it. On the 4th day, he quit. Months passed, then years. His knowledge increased. His life did not. That contradiction slowly became painful. The smartest person he knew was becoming the least consistent. One morning, after another failed routine, Silas left town. He needed silence. He needed answers. Most importantly, he needed honesty. So he walked into the hills beyond the village. Near the hills stood a small garden. An old gardener worked there every day. The garden was simple, nothing extraordinary, yet every flower seemed healthy. Every path seemed clean. Silas visited again the next day, and the next. The gardener always worked calmly, never rushed, never distracted, never dramatic, just steady, consistent, reliable. Finally, Silas asked the question, "How do you stay disciplined?" The gardener smiled. "I don't." Silas blinked. The answer made no sense. The gardener continued working. "I simply show up." That answer annoyed Silas. It sounded too simple, too ordinary, too small. Surely success required something deeper, something smarter, something more advanced. For years, Silas had chased complexity. He believed intelligence required complicated solutions. The gardener believed the opposite. That idea stayed in his mind. It refused to leave. The next morning, the gardener handed Silas a seed. "Plant this." Silas expected a lecture, a secret, a powerful method. Instead, he received a tiny seed. Nothing more. "Now return every day," said the gardener. "And do what?" "Check on it." Silas frowned. "That's all. That's all." The simplicity felt almost insulting. For several days, nothing happened. No growth, no reward, no excitement. Just dirt. Silas felt bored. That boredom revealed something important. His habits rarely failed because they were difficult. They failed because they became boring. This was the first lesson. Many people can survive challenge. Few people can survive repetition. The beginning feels exciting. The middle feels ordinary. Real growth hides in ordinary days. After 2 weeks, a small sprout appeared. Tiny, fragile, easy to miss. Yet Silas felt strangely proud. Not because of the plant, because he had shown up every single day. That evening, he made a decision. No giant goals. No perfect systems. No complicated schedules. He would focus on showing up. Only showing up. Nothing else. His new reading habit was simple. Read 1 page. Not 50. 1. The target felt almost ridiculous, yet it removed resistance. He could always read 1 page. His writing habit became equally small. 1 sentence. That was enough. Most days, 1 sentence became several paragraphs. But the rule never changed. Show up first. Expand later. Weeks passed. Something unexpected happened. His confidence grew, not because of achievement, because of trust. For the first time, he trusted himself to keep a promise. This became the second lesson. Self-confidence is not built by motivation. It is built by evidence. Every completed action becomes proof. Proof becomes trust. Trust becomes confidence. Soon, Silas noticed another problem. He loved planning more than acting. Planning felt productive. It felt intelligent. It felt safe. Action felt uncertain. Action risked failure. The gardener explained it simply. Some people use preparation to avoid progress. Those words struck deeply. Silas realized he had hidden behind knowledge for years. Learning had become a shelter. That was the third lesson. Knowledge creates possibilities. Action creates results. 1,000 books cannot replace one consistent behavior. Life rewards execution, not intention. Months passed. His habits remained small, yet they survived. That was the difference. Previous habits were impressive. These habits were sustainable. And sustainable habits always win eventually. Meanwhile, the tiny seed had grown. The plant stood stronger each week. Silas saw himself inside it. Growth was invisible at first, then suddenly visible, just like habits. One afternoon, he read his old notes. Hundreds of plans, hundreds of strategies, hundreds of abandoned systems. He laughed, not because they were foolish, because they were incomplete. For years, he searched for a perfect method. Now he understood. The perfect method is the one you continue using, not the one that looks impressive, not the one that sounds intelligent. As his habits strengthened, people began asking for advice again. This time, Silas answered differently. He spoke less about theories, more about consistency, less about optimization, more about repetition. Someone asked him the secret of discipline. Silas smiled. The secret is lowering the distance between intention and action. The group looked confused, so he explained further. If your goal feels impossible, make it smaller, then smaller, then smaller again. The easier the beginning, the harder it becomes to avoid. People nodded slowly. The idea felt simple, yet powerful. Years later, the garden flourished. Flowers covered the paths. Trees stretched toward the sky. Visitors admired its beauty. Most assumed it was built through extraordinary effort. They were wrong. The garden existed because someone showed up day after day, week after week, year after year. No dramatic moments. No heroic bursts of motivation. Only consistency. This became the fourth lesson. Success rarely arrives through intensity. It usually arrives through accumulation. Small actions, repeated long enough, become extraordinary outcomes. Sometimes Silas thought about the younger version of himself. The man who chased perfect plans. The man who collected knowledge without action. The man who waited for motivation. He felt grateful for that struggle. Without those failures, he might never have discovered the truth. Habits are not built through intelligence. Habits are built through repetition. The smartest plan loses to the simplest action repeated consistently, every single time. One evening, Silas thanked the gardener for teaching me discipline. The gardener laughed softly. I never taught discipline. Silas looked puzzled. The gardener pointed toward the garden. I only taught you to return. Those words stayed with Silas forever, because every meaningful achievement begins the same way, not with talent, not with intelligence, not with motivation, but with returning. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. Life does not ask for perfection. Life asks for participation. The future is not built in a single powerful moment. It is built in ordinary days that nobody applauds. The intelligent person who learns consistency becomes unstoppable. The talented person who never acts remains stuck. So if you want better habits, stop searching for the perfect system. Choose one small action. Do it today. Return tomorrow. Then return again. Because greatness is often disguised as repetition. And the life you want may be waiting on the other side of a habit that feels too small to matter. If this story helped you, subscribe for more motivational stories and English listening practice. Leave a like if you learned something valuable. And in the comments, type these 3 words. I will return. Because every meaningful transformation begins there.